Hey fellow Patriots, Bill Dalpy, and owner of Patriot Firearm School and Defense. Well, it's no mystery that 2020 has brought in millions of more Americans to the shooting sports, which is a great thing. And in that, there's a lot more new members maybe to your club. So this video is meant to educate the new gun owner on the etiquette and safety on any given range. Now, when you belong to a range, there's definitely a set of rules and regulations that you need to read and understand. And in a public range, there's more control there, right? There's range officers there. There's more eyes on you that are there to help in case you have a question. But where the problems can lie is on the private ranges. Okay, so maybe you get a briefing, safety briefing in tour of the club. It could be a little overwhelming, and they say, do you understand the rules? And you say yes, but now it's your first time to go to the range alone. It can be a little overwhelming, and you want to get it right. So, there could be a little precariousness there. So hopefully this video can help guide you through some of the basics of safety and etiquette on a range that'll be common to no matter what range you go to. So the first thing you do is go to the range and bring your firearms. Now, depending on what state you're in, there's different rules on transporting your firearm. But we recommend when you're not carrying, when you're transporting your firearm, that firearms are unloaded and in a locked container, and with your ammunition in a separate locked container. So you go to the range and you put your stuff down on the bench. Now, a lot of ranges have a table, right, or a bench, and that can be labeled the ready line or firing line. So the ready line is where you get your gun ready. It could be where you just load your mags. The firing line is when you load your firearm and make it ready to fire. So in most clubs, there's a bench, which is the ready line and firing line. So you put your case there, you unlock your case, and you put your firearm down on the bench. Now, when you do that, say a semi-automatic, you want to make sure the slide is locked to the rear position with the magazine out and the ejection port facing up. All right? You never put a firearm down, say a semi-automatic, with the slide forward. All right? So no one can tell if it's loaded or not. So the etiquette there is to keep the slide locked back on the bench with the ejection port facing up. In a revolver, you simply want the cylinder rotated out with, again, the muzzle pointed down range. Okay? That's very important. That's one thing that a lot of new shooters, they understand in maybe a licensing class, but when they go to the range, they kind of forget that. Those muzzles must always be pointed down range, not off to the side. All right? You make a lot of people nervous. Okay, so you got your guns out, your action's open, the muzzles are facing down range. Now you get your ammo out, you load up, and you shoot as you would. Now let's talk about your trigger finger. The trigger finger should not be on the trigger until that gun is at extension. I see a lot of that on the range with newbies, is when they bring the gun down, say to rest their shoulders or just to take a break, their finger's on the trigger. Okay, that should never be. So the finger only goes on the trigger when you have acquired your sights, okay, when you are ready to shoot. When you bring the gun back, the finger needs to come off the trigger. So you're done shooting. In a semi-automatic, your slide will be locked back more often than not. If not, you want to lock it back, take the mag out, place it on the bench, again with the muzzle down range. If you're shooting a revolver and you're done shooting, you open the action, take your casings out, and again, put it down on the bench with the cylinder rotated out with the muzzle pointed down range. And that's basically it for that. What if you're on the range now and you're shooting and you hear a ceasefire command? The thing you need to know, and you should have learned in a basic class if you took one, is that everybody owns the command of ceasefire. So if you're shooting on the range and you hear ceasefire, it is what it implies. Stop shooting. Finger off the trigger and stop shooting till you hear, maybe if there's a range officer there, if they indicate to you to unload your gun, but just stop shooting. Now, why call a ceasefire? Well, it's not if you drop your cell phone, photo, the firing line, or a magazine. It's if there's life, say, in jeopardy. So if there's human life downrange, past the firing line, that would be a reason to call ceasefire. I was on a range once, and there was a German Shepherd running in the middle of the range, so someone called a ceasefire. So again, that would be an example of life downrange. But again, you're responsible for policing each other on the range. Being on the range is a team effort. So let's talk about the term cold range. If your range is labeled cold in general, like this is a cold range, it means in a lot of cases you cannot carry your self-defense firearm on the premises. Okay, it's a cold range. Some ranges that host like USPSA or matches like that may not necessarily be a cold range in normal operation, but when they host a competition, they'd be a cold range. So just be aware of that. Let's talk about that term in context of when you're actively on a shooting line. So you're there shooting, there's a bunch of people there, you're having a good time, and you want to change your target. Okay, so you make your gun safe. We talked about that. Action open, unloaded, put it on the bench, and you kind of look up and down the range to see what others are doing. And, you know, like I said, being on a public range like that or a private range is a team effort. So you need to get people's attention, you know, use your words and expressions and, you know, agree that, okay, everyone can go downrange and change targets or check out targets. So when the range is labeled cold in that aspect, it means that you do not touch firearms or ammunition on the bench. All right, so range is cold, you go change your target. Can you imagine changing your target and someone's touching guns or ammo on the bench? That'd be pretty scary, okay? And that's really unsafe. So that terminology, cold range, means you don't touch guns or ammo on the bench. So that's basically it. You know, again, a lot of ranges have their own rules and regulations, and it's up to you to know them. Now, suppose you're an experienced shooter listening to this, and you see someone that needs help. Okay, you see a new shooter on the range. We're there to help people, right? We're there to foster the shooting sports. So if you see someone kind of struggling with the safety or just having a hard time, help them out. Okay, that's what we're there for. We help them out, we teach them the right way, and we'll all be better off for that for sure. So that's about it. Hope you found this video helpful. If you're looking for training, visit us at patriotfirearmschool.com. And as always, get out and train.